Okay, so today we are going to discuss a very important topic and we are going to clear the concepts of glycolysis. Okay, now a very important point you need to understand right now is this, that when I am talking about glycolysis, I am talking about a particular chemical reaction or a biochemical reaction which occurs in almost every cell of your body. Okay, glycolysis is a biochemical reaction which occurs in every cell of your body. Okay, now a very important point here we need to understand is this, that before we start the discussion on glycolysis, we must know that how glucose enters into your cell. Okay, we must work on this topic, that is how glucose enters into your cell. Now listen, there are two mechanisms, there are actually two mechanisms by which glucose enters your cell. Number one is passive process, a passive process in which no ATP is required, okay, or adenosine triphosphate, and another is ATP dependent or active process. Clear? Active process. Okay, now so we will first be talking about glucose transport mechanism into the cell. Okay, glucose transport mechanism into the cell. Okay, now so we will first talk about the passive process. Okay, now in passive process what happens is actually there are transporters or glucose transporters or GLUT proteins. Okay, GLUT. Okay, they are GLUT proteins. Suppose this here I will be discussing the passive process and here I will be discussing the active processes. Okay, suppose this is a cell and suppose this is a GLUT molecule or GLUT protein, sorry, not a molecule, it's a GLUT protein, and GLUT proteins are also transmembrane proteins. And when glucose binds with these receptors, when glucose binds with these receptors, what happens is glucose are taken into the cell. Okay, glucose molecules are taken into the cell. Okay, now so when GLUT molecule binds with glucose, glucose enters the cell. Okay, now first thing we need to understand is this. Right now we will be discussing about five GLUT molecules. Right now we will be discussing about 5 GLUT molecules. Okay, now listen, there are actually GLUT 1, GLUT 2, GLUT 3, GLUT 4, GLUT 5. Now out of these, at first we will be discussing about GLUT 1, GLUT 3 and GLUT 4. At first we will be discussing about GLUT 1, GLUT 3 and GLUT 4. Okay, now a very important point here we need to understand is this, that GLUT 1, GLUT 3 and GLUT 4, now listen with all your attention. GLUT 1, from GLUT 1 up to GLUT 4, they all transport glucose. Clear? And hexoses, but GLUT 5 actually transports not all hexoses, only glucose. Okay, but GLUT 5 transports fructose, not glucose. It's a very important point for you to understand. Okay, they are present. Now listen, GLUT 5 transports not glucose but fructose. GLUT 5 transports fructose. How will you remember this? It's very important for you to understand. Therefore you must understand this like this, that 5 starts with F and fructose also starts with F. You can easily remember this. Okay, but don't confuse 5 with 4. Okay, now a very important point here you need to understand is this, that first of all we will be talking about GLUT 1 to GLUT 4. Okay, but right now we will be talking about, we will be omitting this GLUT 2 in our discussion. Why? Because this GLUT 2 is actually a very different GLUT. with respect to other GLUT proteins. Okay. Now, first of all, we will be talking about GLUT1, GLUT3 and GLUT4. Okay. Now, listen with all your attention possible. Starting with GLUT1. Okay. Now, listen. GLUT1 is actually present in your RBCs. GLUT1 is present in your RBCs. Okay. GLUT1 is present in your RBCs. Okay. Now, a very important point here we need to understand is this, that for RBCs, glycolysis is the only source of, metabolic energy or ATP production. Why? Because there is no mitochondria present in RBCs. Okay. That means here is your GLUT, and when glucose binds with this GLUT, it comes in and glycolysis occurs inside the, RBCs. Clear? That means GLUT1 is present in, GLUT1 is present in RBCs. Okay. Now we will be talking about GLUT3. Okay. Now we will be talking about GLUT3. Now, GLUT3 is actually present in neurons. Clear? It is actually present in neurons. Clear? Neurons have GLUT3. Neurons have GLUT3. That means in neurons, GLUT3 helps in the transport of glucose into the cell. Clear? And now we will be talking about GLUT4. Okay. Now we will be talking about GLUT4. Clear? Now we will be talking about GLUT4. Clear? Now we will be talking about GLUT4. Now, a very interesting part you need to understand here is this, that when we are talking about GLUT4, now we will be talking about GLUT4. Now, GLUT4 is actually present in muscles. GLUT4 is actually present in muscle cells. Clear? That means GLUT4 is present here. This is GLUT4. That means the transporters of glucose into the cell of different kinds we have discussed right now. But the very important point here we need to understand is this, the hotspot of every biochemical reaction is kidney and liver. We have not discussed the glucose transporter of liver and kidneys, right? We have not discussed the glucose transporter of liver and kidney. But very important point we need to understand is this, you all now know that these two organs, that means in liver and kidneys, okay, in liver and kidneys, you must understand, in these two organs, GLUT2 is responsible for glycolysis. For glucose uptake. GLUT2 is responsible. Two organs, therefore GLUT2. Okay, not necessarily that. Okay. Now, a very important point here we need to understand is this, there is a specialty in this GLUT which we are talking right now. You know what is the specialty of GLUT2? Do you know what is the specialty of GLUT2? Do you have any idea about GLUT2 specialities? Now, very important point here we need to understand is this, that the specialty of GLUT2 is, now suppose this is a cell, and this is suppose GLUT2, okay, this is suppose GLUT2 and this is your glucose, okay. Now, GLUT2 will help in the transfer of glucose into the cell, but it will also during necessary times, it can also help in the transfer of glucose outside the cell. Okay. Clear? That means it will not only help in one-way transport of glucose, but it can also help in other-way transport of glucose, or it can help in what? Transportation of glucose outside and inside of the cell. Clear? That's the way more important thing to learn here. Clear? Okay. Now, what about GLUT5? GLUT5 is present only in small intestine, in your testes. Clear? Okay. Now we will be talking about the active process. So in passive processes, we have seen there are actually 5 GLUTs present. GLUT1 present in, GLUT1 is present in what? Yes, GLUT1 is present in neurons. No, GLUT1 is present in RBCs. GLUT2 is present in liver and kidneys, right? Now GLUT3 is present in neurons, right? Now then after that GLUT4 is present in, yes, GLUT4 is present in what? I have already discussed muscle, right? And GLUT5 is not actually helping in what? Glucose transport, but it is helping in fructose transport. It is present in your small intestine, right? Small intestines and testes, right? Now a very important point here we need to understand is this: all these GLUTs are actually a part of passive process of glucose transport. All these GLUTs are a part of passive process of glucose transport. You must understand this first. All these GLUTs are actually a part of your passive process of glucose transport. Am I clear to everyone? Clear? Now we will be discussing the active process which helps in glucose transport, okay, into the cells. Now listen, the active process, you already know how glucose is actually absorbed in the jejunum, right? You can go to the video where we have discussed in details the process by which glucose enters the cell. Okay, that is carbohydrate digestion and absorption. Actually, you go to the absorption part, you will understand then. But for your recap, I am discussing it in a very much brief manner. Now, listen, we will have to draw here two things. That is, now, this is what? This is your SGLT protein, right? Now listen, what happens is this, that glucose enters the cell, together with sodium. Glucose enters the cell together with sodium. Now a very important point here we need to understand is this sodium is again thrown out by this sodium potassium pump, right? Is again thrown out by sodium potassium pump. Now listen with all your attention. This is actually the active process by which glucose enters your cell. Why? Because this sodium potassium pump utilizes ATP for its working. Potassium enters the cell, right? Okay. Now, so we have actually discussed the detailed mechanism of how passive as well as active process helps in the entry of glucose into your cell. Now we will be discussing how this glucose is converted into pyruvate or lactate depending on whether oxygen is available or not, whether it is aerobic or anaerobic condition. We will discuss this, that how this glucose is converted into pyruvate or lactate depending on aerobic and anaerobic conditions. We will be now discussing the biochemical steps actually. Clear? Now, so right now we will be discussing the biochemical steps of glycolysis. Okay. Now we're discussing the biochemical steps of glycolysis. Now a very important point you need to understand is this, that if you really want to learn glycolysis, at first go to that section of our playlist where we have discussed in detail the structure of carbohydrates. Okay. If you are new in this class, then you should go to that part where we have discussed in detail the structure of carbohydrates. because we will be needing it right now. We need that particular section. We need to draw these, structures, chemical structures of carbohydrate. Okay. Now, we will now be discussing the first reaction of glycolysis. That is, now listen. If I want to start with a little introduction of glycolysis. Glycolysis is actually a biochemical reaction containing 10 steps. It contains 10 steps. Okay. Glycolysis have 10 steps. Okay. Clear? If I want to talk about glycolysis, I will be talking about first these 10 steps. Okay. Now, out of these 10 steps, there are, many reversible steps and there are many irreversible steps. Okay. Now, as a rule of your biochemistry class, you must understand that these irreversible steps are actually the control points of any biochemical pathways. Okay. They are the control points of your biochemical pathways. That means, what do you mean by control points? What do you mean by control points? That means whenever these irreversible steps will occur, okay, then that particular step will actually have to complete the whole step. That means, suppose there is A to B and B to C is actually reversible. Now listen, suppose this is pathway 1. Now, when I can determine the pathway 1 will occur when this A to B step has occurred. Okay. Or let me give you a better example. This is confusing. Now listen, suppose this is your pathway 1. Okay. Now, A to B is reversible, B to C is irreversible. Okay. Now, when I can actually definitely say that this pathway 1 will actually take place whatever happens, we can tell that when we ensure that B to C, this step has occurred, right? Suppose this is again, then always remember, in a biochemical reaction or in a biochemical pathway, these irreversible steps are your control valves, because they control the whole, they control the whole of your biochemical pathways. They control the biochemical pathways. Okay. Now, a very important point here we need to understand right now. A very important point here we need to understand right now is this, that suppose an enzyme X, here is an enzyme X is actually working here, which is actually helping in the conversion of B to C. That means this is actually, what? This is actually a control valve enzyme. This is actually a control point enzyme, right? Control point enzyme, right? Right? This is your control point enzyme. Now, these control points of any biochemical reaction or these control point enzymes are nothing but your what? They are what? They are your control points are actually the rate limiting steps. Clear? The rate limiting steps of any biochemical reaction, and these control point enzymes are actually nothing but your rate limiting enzymes. Clear? That means this whole biochemical pathway will not occur if there is any problem with these control point enzymes or rate limiting enzymes. Clear? Now listen with all your attention. Glycolysis have actually 3 control points. Glycolysis have actually 3 control points, and now listen with all your attention. They have 3 control points, and therefore they have 3 rate limiting enzymes. Clear? they have 3 rate limiting enzymes. Clear? So these are the points we need to understand, that before starting the biochemical steps of glycolysis, that is, they are having 10 enzymatic steps. They are having 10 enzymatic steps. Second, they have both irreversible and reversible steps. That means they have both control valves as well as normal reactions, and they have 3 control points. That means they have 3 rate limiting pathways, and in those pathways there are actually 3 rate limiting enzymes which we will be studying. Clear? Okay, so let's jump over to the first reaction of biochemical pathway of glycolysis. Okay, now if you understand that, suppose this whole board is actually a cell. Okay, this whole board is actually a cell. Now this white board, this surface is actually the cytoplasm, suppose. Now a very well point you need to understand here is this: suppose glucose has entered the cytoplasm of the cell. Glucose has entered the cytoplasm of the cell. Now listen, if this cell is a liver parenchymal cell or beta cell of pancreas, oh, I forgot to mention one thing, sorry. GLUT2 is actually present in 3 organs. So 2 for GLUT2, not that. That is parenchymal cell of liver, that is liver. Another one is pancreas, another one is kidney. Clear? Beta cell of pancreas also contains GLUT2. Now a very important point here we need to understand is this: suppose glucose has entered the cytoplasm of a cell. Suppose glucose has entered the cytoplasm of a cell. Okay, now a very important point here we need to understand right now is this: when glucose enters cytoplasm of a cell, now if that glucose has actually entered with the help of GLUT1, GLUT3 or GLUT4, there is no problem. But there will be a problem if this glucose has entered with the help of GLUT2. Why? Because GLUT2 helps in both inward and outward movement of glucose. That means whenever glucose enters into the cell from outside, glucose will have a tendency to go outside as well. Whenever glucose enters into the cell, glucose, when it has entered using GLUT2, will have a tendency to go outside as well. Therefore, what you need to do is this: you should have someone to chain this glucose. Now a very important point we need to understand is this: glucose is electrically neutral. That means it has neither positive charge or nor negative charge. Therefore, it can easily come inside the cell. Okay, but when this glucose is converted into glucose 6-phosphate, then a very important thing actually happens. Now listen, this phosphate is negatively charged. That means this form of glucose is actually now polar. Clear? Is actually now polar. And there is the big point here. So when glucose is converted into glucose 6-phosphate, glucose becomes polar and therefore cannot move outside the cell. Because there is a cell membrane, and cell membrane never allows any polar molecule to move in or outside. Okay, clear? That means polar molecules will never have access to the inside of the cell, to the cytoplasm, as well as any polar molecule will never leave outside the cell without a proper what? Without a proper carrier protein. Okay, you should focus more on cell biology classes. Okay, now a very important point. So this was actually your glucose. Okay, now there is a plan here. We will be drawing everything here. Okay, now listen, we'll be talking about glycolysis here, but here we will draw the structure. Okay, so this is your glucose. If you can't draw these structures, go to the video where I have discussed in details how to draw these structures. Okay, Now, if this glucose is converted into glucose 6 phosphate, it will look like this, okay? It will look like this. It will look like this. Now, a very, very important point here we need to understand, as well as we need to take note of, that is, here is your phosphate. Clear? Here is your phosphate. Okay? Now, the enzyme which is actually doing this particular, conversion, that is converting glucose, it is actually converting glucose into glucose 6 phosphate. The enzyme, the name of the enzyme is hexokinase. Clear? The name of the enzyme is hexokinase. Now, a very, very important point we need to understand here is this. Now, okay, let me draw it with some, dignity, because let us give it, the enzyme, some, dignity. Why, because it is a very, very important enzyme. It's hexokinase, not this. Okay, this is hexokinase. Okay. Now, a very important point we need to understand here is this. What do you mean by this arrow? This arrow means it's a single directional arrow. That means it's a irreversible step. That means the first reaction of glycolysis, now listen with all your attention, the first reaction of glycolysis is actually the rate limiting enzyme, rate limiting step. The first step of glycolysis is actually rate limiting step. Clear? And the enzyme is actually the rate limiting enzyme. The first reaction of glycolysis is actually, this is what? Rate limiting enzyme. Right? Okay. So this is the first, enzyme which actually helps in glycolysis, and this enzyme actually is a rate limiting enzyme. Clear? This enzyme is actually a rate limiting enzyme. Now, a very important point here we need to understand is this, that hexokinase have, now listen, let us talk about, now, okay, not here, okay. Now, let us talk about, hexokinase a bit. Now, hexokinase, this enzyme is very, very interesting and very, very important, Now, listen with all your attention. Hexokinase requires magnesium ions. Okay? Hexokinase requires magnesium ions. Why? Because what it actually does is, hexokinase actually, hexokinase actually takes out one phosphate from ATP and convert that ATP into ADP and puts it here. Now listen with all your attention. To do this, now listen with all your, to do this, hexokinase needs magnesium. To do this thing, hexokinase needs magnesium. Okay, that is, magnesium is the cofactor. Magnesium is the, cofactor of hexokinase. Clear? Now, a very important point, that means, okay, now a very important point here we need to understand is this. There is one ATP which is utilized. Okay, so the first step of, now the first step of glycolysis, has two distinct characters. Number one, it's a rate limiting step. Okay, it's a rate limiting step. Number one. Number two, it's an energy investment step. Okay, that means what? It's an energy investment step. That means what? That means ATP is required. Clear? So the first step of glycolysis is a rate limiting step, and it's an energy investment step. That means it's an active step, or it requires ATP. Okay. Now let's talk about in details hexokinase. We have a lot to talk about this enzyme. Okay. We will be talking about hexokinase now. Okay. Okay then. Now listen with all your attention. We will be talking about hexokinase. Why will we talk about hexokinase? Because hexokinase is one of the first enzyme which is a rate limiting enzyme. That means without this enzyme, glycolysis will not occur in your cells. Clear? Now let's talk about hexokinase. We will be talking about in details the different aspects of hexokinase. Okay. Now hexokinase, okay, actually has 4 isoforms. Hexokinase have 4 isoforms. Now my question will not be what are the 4 isoform names of hexokinase. My question will be, what do you mean by isoform? Yes. What? Yes. What do you mean by isoform? It's not an isozyme. Okay. More or less like isozyme, but it's not actually same. Now, what do you mean by isoform? Okay, so probably you don't know what do you mean by isoforms, right? Now, a very important point here we need to understand is this. Isoform means 3 things. Whenever you are talking about isoforms, three things actually should come into your mind. Okay? 3 things then and there should come into your mind. Okay? These 3 things. These 3 things should come into your mind. Number 1, they have different primary structure. You know that proteins have primary, secondary and tertiary and quaternary structures. Now, they have different primary structures. Clear? Second thing is this, that every isoform should have a different location inside the cell. Clear? That means they all have different subcellular localization. They all have different subcellular localization. Clear? And the third point is this, they also have different organ localization. Okay. Now we will try to define these 3 things with respect to hexokinase. We will try to define these three things with respect to hexokinase. Now we will be discussing these 3 points with respect to hexokinase, right? Now a very important point here we need to understand is this. What do you mean by different primary structure? That means, now listen, hexokinase have how many isoforms? They have 4 isoforms, right? That is hexokinase 1, hexokinase 2, hexokinase 3 and hexokinase 4, right? Now a very important point here we need to understand is this hexokinase 1, 2 and 3 actually are obverse and reverse of the same coin. That means they work similarly, no problem in that, clear? But this hexokinase 4 is actually going to give us some headaches, okay? This hexokinase 4 is actually the tougher nut. Why, you know? Because this hexokinase 4 is also known by the name of glucokinase. Now, it is also known by the name of glucokinase. Okay, mythbusters time. Okay, we need to crack some, we need some myth busting time here right now. Now listen, many people have this idea that hexokinases are for hexoses, all hexoses. Glucokinase is specially for glucose, right? This is a myth. Why, you know? Glucokinase also works on fructose, glucose, galactose. Hexokinase 1 works on all the hexoses. Hexokinase 2 works on all the hexoses. Hexokinase 3 works on all the hexoses. Hexokinase 4 also works on all the hexoses. That means, now listen, whenever I am talking about isoforms, so these are the points on which isoforms are differentiated. You know what is the common feature of any isoform? They have similar function. That's it. All isoforms, now listen with all your attention, all isoforms have similar functions. Remember this for your entire life, okay? Above all isoforms have similar functions. This thing you need to understand. Clear? This thing is the most important thing. These are the points based on which we will differentiate isoforms. But this is the actually common thing. That means all isoforms perform similar functions. Clear? Now, that means hexokinase 1, hexokinase 2, hexokinase 3, hexokinase 4, which is also known by the name of glucokinase, they work well on all hexoses. Clear? Am I clear to everyone? Right? Okay then. Now, a very, very important point we need to understand. Okay? A very, very important point we need to understand. Now listen. We will actually divide these hexokinases into two different groups. Now, this is not a textbook material, but this is my own, thing. This is, group 1 hexokinases, and this is, totally a different group 2. Okay. Now, we will be talking about at first the group 1 hexokinases, then we will be talking about group 2 hexokinases, okay? Then we will be comparing their actions, okay? Now listen. When I am talking about group 1 hexokinases, the first thing we need to understand is this. When we are talking about group 1 hexokinases, okay? When we are talking about group 1 hexokinases, the first thing we need to understand is this right now, that suppose this is hexokinase 1, 2 and 3. Now a very important part is this, that hexokinase 1, 2 and 3, these 3 hexokinases, okay, have a peculiar thing, that is, now listen, we will be discussing these hexokinases based on mainly 4 criterias, okay? Mainly 4 criterias. These 4 criterias are, number 1, they are Km, okay? Number 2, they are Vmax. Number 3 is is their position in the cell, position or presence in the cell. Number 4 is their regulation. Clear? Their regulation. Okay. Now let's talk about Km. You know, there is some, what is the difference between Km and Vmax? We have already discussed in, you know, what? Our enzyme class, right? Enzyme biochemistry class. Now, tell me, what do you mean by Km and Vmax? Don't convert your answer into a joke, okay? You are desperately trying to do that, but I will solve your problem. Listen. A very important point you need to understand is this: you are talking about Vmax, but giving it a name Km. Okay, no problem in that. Now listen. The first thing we need to understand is this, that Km actually means how fast. Now listen, it's a very, you know, lucid, you know, description of Km and Vmax, but it is very important and it will help you in grabbing lot of, you know, concepts. Now listen, Km means, suppose I am an enzyme, my Km means, actually the definition of Km means how fast, suppose this is my substrate, how fast I can hold this substrate, how fast I can get, you know, access to the substrate. Clear? This is Km. Now listen, if I have my enzyme build up like that, so that I can actually, you know, quickly hold, suppose this is the substrate and these are my enzymatic active sites, and I can hold these, you know, substrates quickly, then that means my Km is low, and I have a high substrate affinity. Clear? That means Km is inversely proportional to substrate affinity, right? Km is inversely proportional to substrate affinity, right? Km is inversely proportional to substrate affinity. Everybody knows that. Now, a very important point. What do you mean by Vmax? Vmax means, suppose this is my substrate. After taking the substrate into my, you know, active site, how fast I can convert this substrate into product. How fast I can convert this substrate into product is my Vmax. So what is Km and what is Vmax? Km defines your substrate affinity. Km defines the substrate affinity of an enzyme, but Vmax defines how fast an enzyme can convert a substrate into product. Clear? Now listen, if I say that Vmax is proportional to velocity of enzymatic reaction, proportional, not inversely proportional. Vmax is proportional to velocity of enzymatic reaction. Will I be right? Absolutely. Right? Clear? So these are the implications of your Km and Vmax, okay? Now, a very important point here we need to understand right now is this: what about this Km and Vmax? Right? Now, to know this, now listen, the Km of hexokinase 1 to 3, 1, 2 and 3 is low and Vmax is high. Clear? Vmax is high. Okay? Sorry. Vmax is also low. Clear? Km is low, Vmax is low. Okay. Now listen. What do you mean by this? Now, suppose this is a graph. Okay? This is a graph of hexokinase reaction. Okay? Hexokinase, you know, 1, 2 and 3. Now, this is x-axis, this is y-axis. In the y-axis, what we will get? Velocity, v0, right? And the x-axis, what we will get? What? Substrate concentration, right? Why? Because velocity depends on substrate concentration. How much substrate is there? Now, the curve will be like this. In case of curve will be like this. In case of what? In case of hexokinase 1, 2 and 3. Now a very important point we need to understand is this: how we can calculate Km. We have already discussed. that means, okay, sorry, we'll have to, you know, draw a perpendicular here, and this is our Km, right? Now this is what, sorry, this is not our Km. Now listen, sorry, really sorry, this is our Km, this is what, this is Vmax, maximum velocity, okay, and this is our Km. Now what is Km? You know, Km is actually the what, substrate concentration at Vmax by 2, that is how, when the reaction has reached half the Vmax, right? This is Vmax by 2, this is what, Vmax, clear? This is Vmax by 2 and this is Vmax. Therefore this is your Km. Why? Because Km stands for the substrate concentration is present in the x-axis at which reaction has reached half of the maximum velocity, clear? Okay, now so it has got low Km, low Vmax. Now this is compared, this low Km and low Vmax is compared to hexokinase 4 or glucokinase, okay? Now presence in a cell, hexokinase 1, 2 and 3 is present in, suppose this is your, you know, nucleus, this is cytoplasm. Now in cell, hexokinase 1, 2 and 3 is present in the cytoplasm, clear? Now regulation. Now a very important point we need to understand how these hexokinases are regulated, okay? Now let us draw a very simple, you know, diagram. This is what, this is your glucose, right? Okay, so this is a glucose. Now glucose has been converted into glucose 6 phosphate, right? Glucose has been converted into what? Glucose 6 phosphate, right? Now a very important point we need to understand right now is this. Okay, so this is your, you know, phosphate, this is your phosphate. Now very important point here we need to understand is this, this is your, here is your hexokinase, right? Here is your hexokinase molecule, hexokinase 1, 2 and 3, right? Now a very important point here we need to understand is this, that this hexokinase 1, 2 and 3, they are actually inhibited by their own product, clear? By their own product, clear? That means whenever glucose is converted into glucose 6 phosphate, glucose 6 phosphate actually is the primary inhibitor of hexokinases, clear? Glucose 6 phosphate is actually the primary inhibitor of your hexokinase 1, 2 and 3, clear? Clear? Okay. Now a very important point here is this, that we now need to talk about glucokinase, okay? Now you already know that glucokinase and hexokinase both works well on all the hexoses, right? Keeping in mind this thing, we will continue our lecture, okay? Now we will now be talking about glucokinase. Clear? This is your glucokinase. Now a very important point here you need to understand is this, We will be discussing glucokinase with respect to again those 4 points. Okay. Number 1 is Km, Michaelis-Menten constant. Number 2 is Vmax. Number 3 is what? Position inside the cell. Okay. Number 4 is what? Regulation. Now let's talk about Km. Now listen, it's very easy. It is just the opposite of hexokinase when it comes to glucokinase activities. Now listen, both Km and Vmax are high for glucokinase. Both Km and Vmax are high for glucokinase. What do you mean by this? Now listen, suppose if I draw the graph for glucokinase, what will you see is this. What will you see is this, okay? Glucokinase always gives a characteristic sigmoidal curve. Clear? And hexokinase gives this type of, Michaelis-Menten curves. Clear? Okay. Now drawing together these equations, these graphs, it will look like this, right? Clear? Now we'll compare. Now listen. We have already discussed, no, that they have got high Vmax. Now listen. You already right now know that they have got high Vmax because this is this is what? This is the Vmax of. This is the Vmax for glucokinase. Okay, let me write glucokinase as GK. Okay. Now this is the Vmax for hexokinase HK. Okay. Now a very important part here we need to understand is this. So Vmax, this is Vmax for hexokinase. Okay. Now a very important point here we need to understand is this, that if I try to calculate the Km of hexokinase, this will be here Km of hexokinase, and this is the mid part suppose, and this is okay, and this is the what, Km of what, glucokinase. This is the Km of glucokinase and this is the Km of hexokinase. The Km of glucokinase and Km of hexokinase. Okay. Now, a very important point here we need to understand is this, that why the Km of glucokinase is higher than hexokinase. That means what? Km of glucokinase is higher. That means what? That means glucokinase cannot effectively bind with glucose. Now what do you mean by this? Why they cannot effectively bind with glucose? Right? Now listen, glucokinases or hexokinase 4 are actually special enzymes. They are present in liver parenchymal cells, they are present in beta cell of pancreas, they are present in liver, kidneys. But why they are special enzymes? Because of only one reason. Because if you consider glucokinases, what you will understand is this, that the higher Km of glucokinase is because of the fact that low concentration of glucose, when concentration of glucose is low, then glucokinases won't work. Or you must now know some very peculiar things about glucokinases. Glucokinases are like army. Glucokinases are like army, and hexokinase 1, 2 and 3 are like police forces. Now listen, when there is an, suppose burglary, you will call army? You will not call army. That means small amount of glucose entering the cell, hexokinases are enough because their km is low. But when there is a terrorist attack in your state, then you will call police. At first, obviously, yes, but then you will have to call what? You will have to call army. Now listen, glucokinases are like army. Clear? Why? Because, now listen, police, police quarters are found everywhere. In most of the cases, they are found everywhere. But have you seen army quarter in the, in the street where you have just passed? No. Why? Because army quarters are present in special areas, right? That means glucokinases, as their army, they are actually present in the nucleus itself. Yes, now a very important point. Glucokinase, what is the difference between hexokinase and glucokinase is this. The first difference is this: hexokinases are present in the cytoplasm. Hexokinases are present in the cytoplasm, but glucokinases are present in the nucleus itself, and they are actually inhibited by another protein. They are actually inhibited by another protein present inside the nucleus as well, and this protein is known by the name of glucokinase regulatory protein, GKRP. Okay, glucokinase actually bind with this glucokinase regulatory protein, and they are therefore kept inside the nucleus. But when more and more amount of glucose comes in, and hexokinase cannot actually tackle the amount of glucose, then glucokinases will come. Why? Because glucose entry into the cell will activate this glucokinase, and they will come out, but their km is low. Why? Because so that low amount of km, or a small amount of glucose will never disturb what? The army personnel. A small chaos in your locality, you should always call police first, not the army. Army will also not come, right? Why they will not come, right? Listen, your cell also have these type of mechanisms. If there is low concentration of glucose, glucokinase will not come. Why? Because their km is low. That means if they comes out also, then even then they will not be able to handle a lot of glucose, right? But a very important point we need to understand is this: the Vmax, or the maximum velocity of glucokinase, is also high. What do you mean by this? This means that after a meal, when the concentration of glucose has given a spike, that means when the concentration of glucose inside the blood is high, then glucokinases will come out. And when glucokinases will come out, what they will do is they will actually start converting glucose into glucose 6-phosphate, right? They will start converting glucose into glucose 6-phosphate. Now listen. Now we will try to answer why the km of glucokinase is really high. The answer to this question is the km of glucokinase is really high because so that glucokinase only gets active after a rich meal or high carbohydrate concentration in the blood. Clear? This is a very important part. Okay. Now the second question: why the Vmax of glucokinase is also high? Why the Vmax of glucokinase is also high? Clear? Now the second question is why the glucokinase have high Vmax? Glucokinase have high Vmax. This is because of the fact so that whenever they comes out, they can convert large amount of glucose into glucose 6-phosphate, and therefore prevents high concentration of glucose in the blood and prevents hyperglycemia. Clear? Vmax is high because so that they can convert glucose into glucose 6 phosphate and prevent hyperglycemia. Clear? So these are the two reasons we have discussed. Now you also know what is the position of your glucokinase inside the cell, that is they are present in the what? They are present in the nucleus itself, associated with glucokinase regulatory protein GKRP. Now how glucokinase is regulated, this is very important. Okay, how glucokinase is regulated. Suppose this is your glucose, okay, which has entered the cell. Now when glucose is converted into glucose 6 phosphate, this glucose 6 phosphate was the, you know what, allostatic inhibitor of hexokinase 1, 2 and 3, right? Was the allostatic inhibitor of hexokinase 1, 2 and 3. But in case of glucokinase, this glucose 6 phosphate actually is not the, you know, inhibitor, but fructose 6 phosphate is. Fructose 6 phosphate is actually the inhibitor of glucokinase. Clear? Fructose 6 phosphate is the inhibitor of glucokinase. Now when glucose enters the cell, GKRP, that is glucokinase regulatory protein, cannot efficiently interact with glucokinase, and therefore this interaction is lost. Clear? And therefore glucokinase can come out and they can act. They can come out of the what? Nucleus, right? Clear? They can act here. Okay, clear? So this was actually, you know, the first step of glycolysis. Now we will be talking about second step of glycolysis. Clear? Now second step is actually a reversible process. That means no rate limiting enzyme or step. Clear? So glucose if you don't know how to draw this, again I am telling you, go back to the video where I have discussed in details how to draw these structures. It's very easy. Okay, it's very, very easy. You don't need to know rocket science. This is hexokinase 1, 2 or 3 or glucokinase, and you need ATP, ADP, okay, and here is glucose 6 phosphate. And now listen, glucose is what, aldose or ketose? It's an aldose, right? Now very important point, this is actually an aldose ketose, you know, isomerism. Glucose is an aldose, right? It's an aldose, right? Glucose is an aldose, right? Now it will be now converted into ketose, that's it. So this is your fructose and this is your fructose 6 phosphate, okay, or we can write like this, this is your fructose 6 phosphate, and this is a reversible step, so don't worry about that. Now the enzyme required here is known by the name of phosphoglucoisomerase. Phosphoglucoisomerase. Clear? It is known by the name of phosphoglucoisomerase. Clear? It is known by the name of phosphoglucoisomerase. Okay. Now we will be converting this fructose 6 phosphate into fructose 1,6 bisphosphate. Clear? Now it is controlled by an enzyme called phosphofructokinase 1. Clear? Now ready for a greater battle? Okay. Okay.